From the pages of the World Wrestling Federation magazine, here's updates.
Party people in the place to be. What's going on? It's me, and he. My bestie, Kyle. You saw the title of this. I decided on this Valentine's Day, this anniversary of the great St. Valentine's Day Massacre, cage match between Austin and McMahon. You've seen all the other romance lists. How about a bromance list? How about the top 5? We each come together and figure out our top 5 bromances, and who better to do that with than my bro?
Red hat.
Yes. Yeah.
Red shirt.
Yeah. Not just a red shirt. The
Available now wherever Kyle Webb merchandise is sold.
The Kyle Webb shirt.
Where do you go? It's fine.
Your local Orange County independent wrestling show. We're talking about bromances between two wrestlers who aren't related.
Okay.
It can be shoot or kayfabe, and it can be more than one person in that friendship. We're just talking about the friendship.
My number 5 should be us. I love surprising you on camera. So,
oh shit, you found it.
There's that left over from your birthday.
So you haven't seen the video or photos yet, but yeah, they were kind enough to give me oh, look at this.
Yeah,
thanks, buddy.
You're welcome.
Put that right there.
I did tell you I was getting you
this. Oh shit! I saw it in Target and I didn't get it.
I'm so glad. I was like, if he buys this, that's fine. I can return it.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to put up that new shelf now.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
Number 5.
My 5th is when I was looking up on Google like wrestling duos, and then I looked up wrestling feuds, and I think this works because if we're looking at this shoot kayfabe in the idea of kayfabe, a lot of friends want to work together. Not always as a tag team, but they also want to wrestle each other a lot or have feuds with each other. And so that's going to be a kind of a common theme with mine.
Okay.
So the first that I think of, which ends up in number 5 because there was a real falling out, and I don't know where they stand together now.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Hall and Nash.
Oh.
So
okay.
With Hall and Nash, obviously best buddies, tag team partners, feud against each other. And then in the afterlife of wrestling, where there's autograph signings and things of that nature, they're not always together. But where you find a Nash, you will find a Hall.
Very often, I saw them doing the independent circuit. Like, I didn't see them, but I saw like videos of them going around doing quote unquote NWO reunions.
Yeah, like
or outsider reunions. All over the place, coming in and clicking up whatever local champion there is.
Right. So, if we start with WWF, WCW, WWE, TNA, obviously they're in love with each other.
Yeah.
And just can't avoid each other.
Hall and Nash are joined at the hip.
They are.
When I think of the other, it's hard not to. You could see the chemistry as a fan, even because I became a fan in '93, and Razor became my favorite wrestler, and the Intercontinental Championship became my favorite title, in part because of the feud that they had that summer. Like they were just fighting each other over that Intercontinental Championship all summer long, leading up to SummerSlam, including even afterwards, including the Heart Attack tour, which is my first wrestling show I ever went to. Like I just think of one, I think of the other.
Yeah, every time.
It's hard when you're picking one on the video game not to pick the other one, just to have them either in a tag team or fight with each other.
Yeah,
like they're inseparable.
Yeah.
You're right. You're absolutely right. My number 5 is I flip-flop between a couple of them, and I ended up staying with one is more legendary than the other. And
one person is more legendary than the other, or more duo?
One bromance is more legendary than the other.
Okay.
Simply because of timing, simply because of where one existed and the other one didn't. So catch me on any given day, but my number 5 right now that just barely got in over the other one, and we'll go over honorable mentions, is the Nature Boy Ric Flair and Arn Anderson, particularly from their Horseman days. They were the strongest linked horsemen. We all saw the promos, but word around camp, Ole wasn't that big a partier with them. But,
sure.
But they did go party all the time, all over the place, do the Vegas Jets and all this other stuff. All the time, yes.
Okay.
And Arn stuck with Flair all the way through, to WWE. Like any type of Flair thing, it's if you don't see Arn It's weird.
Minus 93.
Well, see, I was just about to say that. That period where they broke up on TV sucked, and everybody knew it sucked. It was one of those things. This is how strong the bromance was, where they're like, we don't want to see them fight each other. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't want to see them fight each other. And I think Arn turned on Rick, right? So it wasn't Arn the heel?
But it wasn't real. It was,
right.
I think, and I could be wrong, and you guys can just, I think it was to lure Sting into the play. And then turn on Sting. It was a double turn. Whatever
that double turn was, that was just too weird because they shouldn't be fighting each other. It's like when Matt and Jeff fought each other. Nobody wanted to see that shit.
Yeah. Well, not just because of TNA, I guess, which I wasn't watching.
Not just because of the terrible buildup, but nobody wanted to see them fight each other.
Now, with Rick and Arn, you can argue that it would be nice to find out who the better horseman is. Mm-hmm. But yes, given Rick is the face of that group at all times, and Arn is his right-hand guy. He's not going anywhere. Well, yeah, you're right. We don't really want to see necessarily a feud with Arn and Rick. But then whose side are you even going to go on? It's hard to cheer for Rick until he's 70. Mm-hmm. Yes, in WWE standards, if we look at WWE, Arn is there as an agent during Rick's work.
Down to WrestleMania 17. The biggest thing, I wasn't a big fan of that phase of Undertaker's career, that phase of Rick's career until a couple years later. But that match with Rick and Taker, biggest pop out of the crowd and me was, I was like, we better see Arn come in. And sure as shit, we saw Arn come in, hit that double A spine, and you wanted to see it because it's like, come on, that's your best friend. It's a no holds barred match. It's your best friend. Hell yeah, we're gonna see it. And we saw it. It was great.
That. Rick's return to WCW. You remember that with Arn's very passionate promo?
My dog spot. Yeah.
Yeah. Who were you contemplating going against this? Because I'm thinking now they should be higher. All the shit you just gave me.
Number 4.
My number 4 is going to be the entire clique.
Okay.
I noticed you put Hall and Nash together. I'm wondering if you put a couple more combinations together. But the impact of the clique together as a group is just too important to bear in terms of bromances for the company, good and bad. They've hurt the company with some of their backstage bullshit quite a bit. They've hurt the business. They've hurt individual wrestlers, but they were magnetic together. Again, even as a kid, not smart to the business, there are a few things I could tell. I could tell who the good wrestlers were, not necessarily the ones I was supposed to cheer for. I could tell a lot of different things. I could tell what chemistry was. And I could tell that these, like, if I was playing with my toys, one of the first matches I would have would probably be with somebody in the clique. Shawn, Hall, Nash, X-Pac, we'll even count Just Incredible in there, Triple H. That legacy continues on to this day through, different iterations and different connections that each of those guys makes with other people, like Hall and Nash with Hogan, or the clique turning into DX and that extending off to the Road Dogg and Mr. Ass. Like they've got all these different clique connections, and they're super important. Hell, if it wasn't for the clique, Dolph Ziggler wouldn't exist, I think, because all he is a clique clone.
So we can blame the clique.
We can blame the clique for Dolph Ziggler.
Scratch him off the
list. But their friendship was just so important. And even as a kid, I still believe that they were good guys and bad guys, that they hated each other. But if they teamed up, it was like, oh yeah, of course they were a team. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. And if we really think about it, which again, if we're looking at bromances and rankings, they really should be higher because they broke the fourth wall for the first time. Maybe it wasn't the first time, but it was a very large moment for, even though it wasn't, because it wasn't on live TV or anything. Mm-hmm. But we all know what we're talking about. The curtain calls.
Yeah. So. But that was a big moment too. It was in the infant days of the internet, so you did hear rumors about that. I do remember hearing about that, like on the schoolyard. Even if people didn't necessarily, or even if I didn't necessarily see it, I did hear about it, and that didn't stay under wraps for too long. But that again impacted the rest of the business, their business decisions. Yeah. Fucking Hall and Nash going to WCW, that affected the entire business.
I mean, if it wasn't for that, Glenn Jacobs wouldn't have had a job. I just watched a documentary about him. He wouldn't have been Fake Diesel. They would have let him go.
Wow, because they couldn't figure out anything for him after Isaac Yankem.
Yankem didn't work. They buried him too quick. Obviously, if it wasn't for Kane, he really wouldn't have had a job. It would have been sooner than that had that Fake Diesel opportunity not come.
Wow.
He ran that for a year. I didn't know that.
Neither did I.
So, better part of a year at least. My number 4, is going. You're not going to like this because this is going to be controversial.
Okay.
But as I'm looking through it, their fucking careers won't leave each other alone.
Okay.
If you find one, you find the other.
Okay.
Until the other passed away.
Okay.
And that's going to be the Mega Powers. Shocking, right?
No.
You wouldn't think bromance.
I would.
But you do.
They almost made my list.
If you think about it.
They almost made my list.
Not only did they do business together.
Yeah.
But then you follow it even further. So you have a match made in heaven, you have a match made in hell. It's still Hogan and Mach.
Mm-hmm.
You go further into WCW, they leave at the same time almost. Then they're in the NWO together, which you wouldn't expect.
Savage leaves about a year after Hogan.
Same time-ish, though.
Mm-hmm.
Same time period. Same time period in wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Even with two separate factions of the NWO, they're still fighting each other. In the NWO, they're fighting each other over the fucking championship for a long time.
Yep.
They couldn't separate these two guys. And
right.
then once WCW folded and the NWO came to WWF, Savage was basically done.
Mm-hmm.
He had one more appearance at TNA after that.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not
which ironically enough, I heard in a Cornette shoot interview, he knew he was done. He knew physically he was done and he couldn't do shit.
Sure.
Which is why
I accept it.
He took the gig, but as he was trying to gear up for it, he knew his body just couldn't do it anymore, which is why whatever happened on that pay-per-view happened on that pay-per-view with him. One of the specific reasons why he didn't come back in any role was because Hogan was backstage and they were in the middle of that beef near the end of his life.
See, here's my thoughts.
And he didn't want to have anything to do with him.
I'm curious if that entire thing was a work. Because with some of the nice stuff Hogan has said lately, it makes me think, like, who knows?
I mean, Hogan's Hogan.
He is, but it also makes me just really want to, like, I'd like to know if that was all a work, if they were secretly, obviously, trying to do business. And it just never worked out because of one reason or another. So, but then if you think about it, they both played wrestlers in movies. Their careers are very parallel. Mach just not reaching the heights that Hogan did, except for in some of the hearts of the fans as a more established worker.
If he had not passed, he would be at this point.
Yeah, so
he would be at this point. He'd reap all the benefits of all the. You're not wrong. They almost made my list. You're not wrong because even backstage there were periods where they were very good friends.
I would assume so. Yeah, especially in WCW, especially maybe even after the fact of him and Liz not being married anymore, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. It allowed him to breathe a little bit. And we don't know what's kayfabe and real anymore. Yeah. I mean, and we've all heard the rumors of Savage decking Hogan before WrestleMania 9 because something Linda and Liz. But like that's part of the passion and probably psychosis of Savage and the tense version of their relationship.
Number 3.
So at number 3, I think this fits perfect, especially recently. Again, mine, in your definition to me, with me not doing my research for this video, was bromances in and out of the ring. And when I see bromance, I see business in the wrestling industry. Because had we done everything right in Mach 1 with us, it would make sense. We want to work together, whether we're on the same team or opposite.
Right.
And that works because we already know each other enough where even if you're managing someone else, it can make good matches. It can make good drama. So in this vein, I chose Sasha and Bayley.
Oh, see, I took women off because I stayed with bromance.
Oh, well, excuse me.
But
it's Spectrum.
but I guess this video can take a trip to the kitchen.
Wow. Well, expect some thumb down. I had to think of what horsewomen I wanted to do for this, and I wanted to go with Charlotte and someone, but there wasn't something as definitive with Charlotte and anyone as it is with Sasha and Bayley, and it goes back to the outsiders. Starting around the same time, being real-life friends backstage, having test matches and not really hitting a flow until they both catch their feet, getting into NXT and being on TV more often, established characters. Now we're feuding for the belt in NXT.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
2 of some of the best matches that I've ever seen in general.
Yeah.
Not just women's matches. And that's to do with storyline. Sasha always being a better heel than most people at that time. Going to the main roster relatively the same time, paralleling their careers, getting into championships, then culminating in a tag team championship where they did some of their best work, and then going into their new feud, which sure wasn't as good as their original feud, but especially their Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah, the matches weren't the build up and that.
But the build was there.
That period where they were together was some of the best stuff to watch on that show.
Yeah, and even now, like right after Sasha won the belt, this segment that got cut off of SmackDown where Sasha's walking out and does her thing and the belt falls off, and Bayley starts laughing at her in kayfabe / shoot, which is good. And it gets cut off of the episode, but everyone put it online. Stuff like that, because that's what you would see Hall and Nash do, laughing at each other for fucking up.
Yeah.
So yeah, 100% on the list. I just had to figure out who was it going to be of those 4 girls, and I couldn't think of anyone that Charlotte has had a consistency with, or Becky. I couldn't think of a consistent parallel with Becky, and they're not paralleling each other at all.
No,
because Charlotte is here. She just is.
They're more together in the horsewomen as by association.
By association, kind of like some of the horsemen.
Yeah.
But yeah, once I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, they're going on there.
I get it. I 100% get it. The reason why they left my list was because I originally had such a long list. I had to start making
because you wanted to be sexist.
Yeah, no, not wanted to be. I just I wake up like this. Was because I had a list so long, I had to just start cutting shit down based on whatever.
So you cut the women.
I did cut the women. Yeah, of course I cut the women's match. What are you talking about? We only have a 3-hour show.
We got a bathroom break coming up, folks. If you need to hit the restroom, we have ladies.
I guess it's time to get some popcorn. My number 3 is in its position because of how it ended. But when I think of bromances, like the effect of it is just so palpable and just so deep. Like we're starting to get into the ones that actually affect me as a person.
Yeah.
Benoit and Eddie. Chris Benoit and Eddie Guerrero. It's just so deep. I couldn't finish.
How dare you?
I couldn't finish Dark Side of the Ring.
Really?
I couldn't do it. I was so affected by that first part. I couldn't fucking do it.
Can you remind me, the first part, what you got to?
Because I believe the first part got up to Eddie's death, and then we cross over into Benoit territory.
So Chris's reaction?
Chris lost his person.
Okay, I agree with you. That would be hard to
Chris lost his person. He was crying in Eddie's bed for weeks at a time. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's just, and the way they were around each other, the matches that they had with and against each other. I get that friendship. I get that. Like it's just right there in the black hole that used to be a heart. I get it.
I don't want to talk about it anymore. Holy shit. Stop.
Yeah. How it ended is why it is where it is.
All right, what's your number 2?
I just can't.
I gave you my 3, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about it. Jesus Christ. I'm reliving that stupid Dark Side of the Ring thing. Yeah. And it's incredibly sad.
It's just...
And I remember where I was when I found out about Benoit. Mm-hmm. Not Eddie so much.
Yeah,
I remember being sad. And I remember... excuse me. Jeez. I remember crying. And I remember I don't know, watching it on TV or something.
I didn't understand it.
But I remember Benoit because I was with Tommy Williams, at a restaurant getting breakfast before training, and it showed up on the news, and we didn't train that day. It was just like, wow, because he was very heavily influenced by Benoit, and so
many people were influenced by both of them,
but more so, I mean, like his moveset and everything, like he was like heavily influenced. So holy shit, wow,
yeah,
I want to move on right away, and
hopefully let's get some. You're number 2. You're number 2.
Stupid ass.
You're number 2.
Number 2.
My number 2 one is number 2 because of it ended slightly better, and there's more fun involved in it. Bobby the Brain Heenan and Gorilla Monsoon.
Oh, okay.
Fucking priceless together. If you have the network or Peacock by the time this comes out, I don't give a shit.
You know more about this than I do.
Primetime wrestling. You have to go and watch the Primetime wrestling episode. I started watching in 93. So very rarely would they be teamed up that I saw on television, but I got the videotapes, and they were commentating on a lot of the videotapes I got. My favorite WrestleMania is WrestleMania 8, and it's 3 hours of them going back and forth, and some of the best commentary I've ever heard in my life. Gorilla Monsoon and Jesse the Body Ventura were very good on commentary too, but Heenan and Gorilla loved each other. They were best friends. Their wives were best friends. They traveled all over the place together. I'm going to mention this here so that we can move on to something friendlier by the time I finish. But Bobby the Brain Heenan's Hall of Fame speech. Hilarious Hall of Fame speech. But at the end, God damn it, I wish Gino was here to see this. Fuck, God, right in the heart. But they were such good friends together. It was apropos that Gorilla Monsoon was the one who tossed Bobby Heenan out after all the barbs back and forth. After all the primetime wrestling stuff, there were angle shot there where Gorilla got involved in fights with Heenan, confrontations with other wrestlers. Gorilla got injured once.
Wow.
Fucking Brooklyn Brawler hit him on the back of the head with a stool. And for the next 6 months, Bobby Heenan was just apologizing for it. And every time Gorilla would cut him, it sounded like Gorilla wanted to rip his teeth out of his jaw and put it in his ear. Like, it was just great. And the times that Bobby Heenan, this is a true friend moment. The time Bobby Heenan got Gorilla Monsoon to crack on camera is always great. Because there are a couple of times where he catches it, and then there are a couple of times where he can't catch it, and then there are a couple of times, especially on like special episodes of primetime and some pay-per-views, he just fucking loses it altogether. He's just laughing until they go to commercial break. That friendship's amazing. It's one of the best friends, and you can hear it in everything they do. All the commentary, all the one-on-ones that they did, all the studio whatevers they did, the vignettes. You can hear and you can see it. It was just fantastic.
Good call. Do you know what my 2 is?
I don't.
You have no idea?
No.
All right. I have a theme, obviously, for my list. And this is number 2 only because number 1 is better.
Okay.
But it's up there. And what's interesting
guys
is...
that work together
and best friends.
Owens and Zayn.
Who?
Owens.
Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa.
I thought about them, but they didn't make my list.
I can't, because if I think about it, obviously you know the love I garnered for Tommaso Ciampa during that feud.
Yeah.
But
Amazing
started 2 years prior. They get in the Dusty Rhodes Tag Team Classic just as enhancement talent.
Mm-hmm.
They get over, so they get signed to contracts. Great. Mm-hmm. They're doing DIY, but they're almost like contracted enhancement talents until they give them a shot to go one-on-one at the Cruiserweight Classic. Mm-hmm. And that, at that time, brought a tear to my eye because of the way that match finished. They had an amazing match that you didn't really like that much because of reasons with kicking out of too much stuff.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
A little too much pepper.
But at the end of it, with Tommaso wanting to leave because he got beat with a roll-up and he was upset, and then coming back and sitting down with Gargano and putting his arm around it, was heartfelt for me to be like, wow, psychology.
I get that.
And didn't know it was planting a seed for 2 years later.
I don't think they knew either.
For this feud that rebuilt NXT. And they're leading this brand for a year. Sidebar injuries, picking it back up, and then we have, our shutdown of the world, where they don't really get to have the blow off they wanted to, but also best friends outside. Yeah. And actual real best friends, best mans at weddings, and and everything else you can really think of. It is, I think, if you were talking about bromances, the true definition of it. Because I don't think there's ever a time, probably from the indies until now, that they're not together in some way, shape, or form, I believe. So that's why they're so high on my list, because I was so heavily, emotionally invested in these two guys, whether they were together fighting each other or as a tag team.
If we're talking top 10 list, get back to me. They might make it. Just top 5 was too many. I just had to narrow down a whole bunch.
Sure.
Not mad at that at all. You do feel the emotional impact of their matches. Knowing their history does help a lot. Knowing how close they are in real life, I get it. And you can, and it goes back to, you can feel that. You get that. Yeah. You get that that they've got this magnetic chemistry, and you can feel that friendship, even if they're together or against each other. You can feel that on the screen. I get it.
Honorable mention.
Well, I only have 2 honorable mentions because I wrote them down while we were talking.
Okay.
Because I didn't put any down originally.
So let me go through mine, and they'll probably spark more from yours. Legion of Doom. I was this close. I couldn't bring myself to calling Legion of Doom, Hawk and Animal, a bromance. It wouldn't let me do it. I just cannot do that. BSK. It's such a mystery to me as a fan because they weren't like the Clique and appearing on TV with each other as friends all the time. So you heard the Undertaker interviews and stuff. That's great, but it's not.
And it also wasn't really on screen.
Right.
You did have
Survivor Series 95 really was the only thing.
Yeah, and I'm trying to think.
And you didn't even know that it was BSK. Like, they all came out with BSK hats, but you didn't know what that was. Regal and Tajiri. I just get a kick out of them. I just always got a kick out of them. I just always like seeing them on TV. I just always like that.
You think
that
they
chemistry.
were backstage
They are.
friends? Yeah.
They are. Not. I don't know if they're best friends, but they
It
are
would
friends.
make sense, though, too,
but they
because
are
William
friends.
Regal's heavily into Japanese wrestling. So if he knew of Tajiri before WWE, that would make sense.
Yeah, their chemistry was amazing. This one is more personal to us. We know who they are. Some of you might know who they are. The Mixtape Kings, LTP and Marcus Riot. I like them as a tag team. Obviously, they're two of the most amazing SoCal wrestlers that we've had. But their friendship, particularly Riot's, sticking by LTP when everybody else abandoned him.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's
Okay.
That's friendship right there. JR and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Yeah.
JR's career, partially takes off on the back of Stone Cold, which everybody else does in WWF. But Austin's career isn't as great without Stone Cold! Stone Cold! Stone Cold!
Yeah.
And here's one that most people don't even think about, but I remember seeing at least beginnings of the knowledge of it in 1994. Vince Russo and Double J Jeff Jarrett. Or in 93.
Unfortunately.
So Vince Russo which is why it's honorable mention, but it's a long-standing friendship. Vince Russo was the editor of the WWF magazine and would always have a picture of Jeff Jarrett on his thing that he wrote, and he put it in the thing. I'm always going to have a picture of Jeff Jarrett in my column from now on, and talk glowingly about him. To the point where he helped Jarrett's career in WCW. He was the head writer in WCW.
A lot.
And, he helped his buddy, and Jarrett helped his buddy again in TNA a couple of times. It's a legit friendship. They fucking loved each other for whatever reasons. The one that almost made the list, Sami Zayn, El Generico, and Kevin Owens, Kevin Steen.
And when we talk about that, because I just added it, because I didn't think about it, it really should be on the list.
The only reason it wasn't was because of the legacy of Rick and Arn. But it was almost... It definitely would have been top 10.
Well, if we
just didn't make top 5.
If we did time, I think the legacy of Generico / Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens / Kevin Steen is longer running, on screen, and knowledgeable about. It's a beautiful story because of Ring of Honor, PWG,
right?
That NXT debut of Kevin Steen coming in as a huge face, turning heel. Winning the belt a week or month later or something like that.
Right.
That is romance. We started here and we're still doing it here. It didn't even get stopped at NXT. They still did it in WWE.
Yeah.
If that's not romance, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
So yeah, because they're on mine. I wrote it down as I thought. The only other one I wrote down because I just couldn't think of many people was Eddie and Ray. So
almost they were considered.
Yeah.
They were considered.
And it just, it goes on and on and on. Feuding way back, Halloween Havoc. I don't know if
fathering Ray's child,
and somehow then switching the DNA back to Ray. The tag team championships, Rey Mysterio getting a World Heavyweight Championship title run out of his untimely death.
That feud that they had after the tag team title run, the way they did it, the way they did everything except for the Dominic buildup was great. But the slow burn of I'm gonna beat you.
Yeah,
I'm gonna beat you.
Yeah.
No, you don't understand, Ray. I have to beat you.
And honestly, if they would have had a World Heavyweight title program, it probably would have been that much better. Just in more icing on the cake for them as their romance evolved. Bromance being, in my opinion, feud and backstage. It got
through the indies. Through the indies, they had that amazing triple threat match with CM Punk.
Yeah.
Before
IWA Mid-South or something.
Yeah, when just some stroke of luck, all three of them weren't signed.
Even to this day, Reddy Mysterio doing frog splashes.
Yep.
Eddie's biological son, Dominic, on the main roster doing frog splashes.
Yep.
All right, yeah.
And the greatest wrestling bromance of all time is...
Number one, with a bullet, which I'm curious, you're not going to do it because of your top 5 already that I know about, is Hunter and Shawn. Hunter and Shawn. And this goes back to being friends in WWF as Hunter Hearst Helmsley, forming a tag team despite management not wanting them to in the first DX. Shawn going away, Hunter well, I'm going out of order, but Hunter paying for the curtain call. Shawn coming back and doing commissioner stuff, but still being involved in Triple H's matches. Shawn, I believe, super kicking the British Bulldog as a referee for Hunter. The Rock. Shawn coming out of retirement and that god awful cringing this hurts to watch SummerSlam match because we think Shawn is not able to wrestle.
Well, let's talk about this the build up to that for half a second. I believed that reunion. I bought it.
Which reunion?
That fake DX reunion in 2002. I believed it. I bought it.
Yeah.
I was into it. I wasn't.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't like, oh yeah, okay, whatever. I was like, fuck yeah, we're getting DX back.
Yes.
Yes.
So yeah. When he gave him the little bag and he looked inside of it with the shirt, I know so much about that feud. Yes, very very excited. Heartbroken when that pedigree that floated in midair for 28 minutes happened.
I was legit angry. Yeah. I was legitimately mad. I was not at Triple H, but I was like, fuck you, WWE. Fuck you.
I was only mad at the enhancement of zooming in on Triple H's face of him slamming Shawn Michaels' head into the car window. That's not possible. This isn't CSI Miami.
I didn't like that part of it where it's like, well, Hunter already just
didn't need to happen.
Like, it didn't need to happen. I'm like, he already pedigreed him. Like,
he already pedigreed him.
What's this fake turn supposed to be? Like, I know what it is.
But it gave a little bit of realism to it, where he was, they were using like real names and stuff, and it was fine.
Yeah.
But then the SummerSlam match.
But it didn't take away from anything, especially after that SummerSlam match.
And that SummerSlam match. I mean, that's really the epitome of it. And it goes on and on and on and on to today, both coaching NXT. That's why they're number one.
I get it.
Because that's 95? That's almost a 30-year friendship.
Yeah.
So far. And that goes into the same thing you were talking about earlier with who the clique touches. And it's, if we talk about just these two guys, who they touch, be it DX, China, all the NXT guys getting their advice. Obviously, Tommaso and Gargano's feud is parallel. Their parallel matches with Taker. Their parallel matches with John Cena at WrestleMania. Yeah. Everything they've done, minus the new DX.
Yes, please. That's part of why I said the clique had to be just one entity. Because like they were all friends, right? Yeah. So like, they were all close with each other. I see Shawn, I see Hunter, I also see Hall, I also see Nash, I also see Kidd. So like I get that you're not wrong at all. Yeah.
But these two go so much more than the clique. That's why I think about today with NXT and them running the show. It's, I mean, are you kidding me? It's their 20-year-old dream of like, well, we can make the industry better. Yeah. And now they're doing it.
Yeah, so in a much more mature way than they would have been able to do then. And I don't mean mature in like just that they were put fingers in their nose. I mean mature in that they wouldn't just bury anybody that it wasn't named Aurora Rose or whatever Shawn Michaels' kids' name are. I get it. 100%. 100% get it. You know mine?
The natural disasters.
Yes. No. Mine is you and me, buddy.
No, it's not.
It is. What's that say?
But I already gave you...
Yours is you and me.
I preempted. I too soon.
Yours is you and me, buddy. I'll take it. Yours is you and me.
All right.
This friendship started out of fucking whole cloth.
Oh, and it came with fucking wrestling. Let's rewind. There was a day at UPW. We're at the warehouse that we trained in. This dirty, dingy, drug dealer owned warehouse. And
there was a whole lot of meth going on.
And we're waiting for the teacher to show up, and he doesn't show. No one else is there. Everyone else left, and we were the only ones waiting around, hoping someone would show up. The other guys are just like, we're out of here.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. That's right.
And it was like, okay, I'm hungry. Do you want to go get some food and we can just chat wrestling? It's like, okay, cool. Didn't really know you at the time. Hadn't really done much with you like in training or anything like that. So we went to a teriyaki joint down the street, and I started kind of making fun of some of the people that walked by, and that got you like, oh, this guy's an asshole. I like that because I'm an asshole. And it just kind of blossomed from there.
And I remember you telling me, because you got a shot at going to WWE with the rest of whatever crew Bassman decided he wanted to take with him. I sent you a text at that point. I was like, something like, show them all that you can be, fucking be respectful, but kick fucking ass. And you're like, oh, fucking this guy.
I don't remember that at all. The only thing I remember after our teriyaki lunch was going to see the wrestler.
Yes.
But we were too early. So we walked around the mall for a minute, and I specifically remember walking through like a department store, like a JCPenney or a Macy's or something. This was like, I think, a higher end mall. So it was one of the higher end stores.
Yes.
And I said something out loud to someone walking by because I felt they looked stupid.
Yes.
And you said,
I remember the type of person it was. And
wow, you just say that stuff? And I'm like, well, yeah, what are they going to do? I'm 6'6". And you're like, this is great. And then not only was the first encounter of you like, oh, this guy's kind of an asshole, this is funny. Now it's like, oh, he just says what he wants. This is a different playing field.
Yeah.
Like now we can really express ourselves.
I'm kind of an asshole. It's just a smidge. We hung out together, played video games over at your place, and it just blossomed from there. We fucking ended up going on like double dates and shit. Some of our best adventures are from each other.
Yeah.
Remember
double dates.
Remember the double date you took me on with that chick that couldn't get out of her phone?
Oh my God. That was funny because you said something. You took my lead and said something out loud. And then where it really kicked off and never should have stopped was Mach 1.
Absolutely. They had you jobbing out initially, but you weren't comfortable speaking. You weren't comfortable talking yet, and you were still trying to get your Monster Kyle Webb thing over. Yada, yada, yada. Some things happen. I go to a couple of shows as an audience member. They put me in as a referee, and we do that referee turn, which was fantastic. I love that. Some of my favorite memories of all time are in wrestling matches with you.
And honestly, you know, with earlier this year on Facebook Memories coming up of videos that we shared that Mach 1 put together, some that we posted ourselves, were the amount of heat you would get as my manager to the point where I was no longer getting booed. You were getting booed.
I wanted us to stay together longer. You wanted to turn face.
I felt at the time I had to. I'm in UPW, but you're in UPW at the same time. I go to Mach 1, I make a suggestion for you, you come in. I go to NWA Hollywood, I make a suggestion for you, you come in. I go to M1W.
M1W.
I make a suggestion for you to come in.
That could have been fantastic.
It could have been, and that ended that ended SoCal Indies for us, at least on the mainstream of SoCal Indies, which was, again, supposed to be this big thing. We do a 1-hour shoot interview. I don't agree that's number one, but thank you.
For me, it is. This is my list.
It's your list.
For me, this is my number one.
I'll tell HBK
you're my number one,
Triple
buddy.
H that you think that we're better than them.
Yeah. Hell yeah. We had the Click, I guess, was the only crossover.
Well, I had the Click.
You had them split up, but that's our only crossover. Our honorable mentions. We had.
I added Owens and Zayn. We both had Eddie in there at some point. Mine's honorable mentions because we couldn't talk about yours without me bawling on camera. Yeah, that was weird.
It wasn't that I couldn't. You haven't seen the second episode yet? No, my wrists are still together. No, I haven't seen those
because it's very informative. So because you get police reports and stuff.
So
it's worth it. Just get drunk, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know if that'll help, but yeah, those are our lists. Party people. Your favorite bromances in all of wrestling. What are they? Let me know down there in the comment section.
Listen, I'm coming back, okay? We have a lot of filming we've done, and it's all coming back. It's going to be a long video, and you have to watch all of it. I'm coming back. So all these last videos we've shot where it's like, oh, you can link this down here, and this guy, well, never mind, doesn't do anything anymore. I'm coming back, okay? It's almost done. It's been a fucking month in the making.
Great. Now you're going to drag me over to your channel, and then we're going to get kicked off of YouTube together.
Oh, that's right.
Because that's our trajectory. That's our trajectory. You bring me in, and it closes down. Wasn't that a thing we had with each other that you can't keep a company running if you fuck with us?
It was, well, the memes had my name on it
or your name,
by association,
because you just keep coming in at the tail ends of shit.
Well,
like Mach 1 could have been good. We can have this conversation off camera. Like, share, subscribe. Links down below. What's your favorite bromance? More like and share than anything else. You know I'm good. I'm your favorite YouTuber, for fuck's sake. You got to come over here and you got to share it with people to let them know, because I want that goddamn PewDiePie money.
You tell them to do the bell and
fuck the bell. At this point, for me, subscriptions are less important than actual engagement with my content. So sharing it so we can get more views, and liking it so that the algorithm can go up. Yeah. So those are and how did we even get here? My podcast every Thursday. Again, links down there.
I've never listened to a single one, just so you know.
Fantastic.
I'm number one still?
Maybe I'll end this video so that you stay number one. Bye, everybody. And as always, cheers.
Thanks for watching. Oh. paid.
I'm a nice guy, I'm a nice place, with a nice smile on my nice face. Turn your back and I'm making sure my night's straight. And when you're out of town, I'll be making sure your wife's straight.